Welcome to another episode of WBNJ's From the Music Store. If you enjoy this episode and want to hear more, you can check us out at FromTheMusicStore.com, WBNJ.org, and wherever you get a podcast. So there's a crazy group that I just came across, the Sachal Orchestra They did a record of standard and jazz tunes, but covered by musicians on tabla and sitar and everything. Now, the one that popped up is a version they did of Take 5. Now, Take 5 is a Dave Brubeck tune. Mm-hmm. It is a song, well, and we talked about this before. I don't know if I cut it out, but we were talking about how people count in songs.
Right.
So Take 5 is actually like a song that's in 5 for anybody who's listening and doesn't know what that means. Usually, here I'll do a little example. Usually rock and pop songs like 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, 2, right? But Take 5 is do da ga da ga dum da. Which is not a common time, but when it came out, it actually was a very successful tune. And it did a bit of crossover, which most jazz records didn't. Introduced a lot of people to jazz.
Essential listening.
Yeah, and Take 5 was one of them. So these guys do Take 5. Dude's rocking the sitar. The guy playing tabla is just going bonkers. I'll let you listen to that. Just really interesting. And now, I haven't heard it yet, but later on I'm going to listen to it. They did Girl from Ipanema. Girl from Ipanema, which is actually a
bossa nova
tune from Brazil, originally sung in Portuguese.
Olha que coisa mais linda, mais cheia de graça, ela menina que vem que passa, doce balanço caminho do mar.
I just like when things around the world get all mushed together.
Yeah.
I enjoy that. It breaks out of the mundane, repetitive listening of top 40 that my daughters subject me to every morning. What else we got going on? I don't know, you got anything to talk about? No? Yeah, you're useless.
I got one. Actually, I'm lying to. I'm going to get my phone.
Okay. While you do that, have you heard about the live music archive of concert recordings? It's funny, we're talking about the Dead with the days in between. There's like 17,000 Dead shows that are on there, but a total of 250,000 shows that are on this website. Little Feat, Blues Traveler, My Morning Jacket, Los Lobos. Man, I love Los Lobos.
Where did it go? Can't say that I know those times of revolution, of burning, all so cool and gone. What was this was?
All those bands that you just said, that's a concert I would go to.
Oh, I saw Los Lobos open up for the Dead.
My Morning Jacket, Los Lobos?
Yeah.
Not Low Blows.
Low blows. That was I'm going to be honest with you. Los Lobos was the loudest concert I've ever been to.
Yeah, you said that before.
Holy crap. David Hidalgo's guitar amp. It was like a small theater at the Lower East Side of Manhattan. It was so loud my ears were bleeding. And it was I was so disappointed because I love those guys. And the thing about them is most people, you'll appreciate this, most people think of them as the La Bamba band. from the Richie, because we talk about Richie Valens and the 50s music stuff, but they are so not anything like La Bamba.
Oh no, they go down like into like ZZ Top type territory, and then they do some Latin flavored stuff. But my goodness, are they a spicy blues band too?
Yeah, but they're also like a weird alt rock band.
Right.
And then they went and they literally did a straight up, two of them I think, but the one I really like is a red cover mariachi record.
Los besos que me diste, mi amor, son los que me están matando. Que mis lágrimas se están secando con mi pistola, mi corazón.
Oh wow!
And it's straight up, and they're like, well, this is the music like we actually grew up with our families. And it's the playing, the actual stringed instrument playing that's on that is unbelievable. Those guys are great. Yeah, listen to Los Lobos. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, they're great. And David Hidalgo's voice is also very good.
Well, actually,
good singer.
Everybody in that band sings.
Yeah, they all sing.
That would be like my dream gig, literally, to be in a band like Los Lobos. That's kind of my dream gig, because David Hidalgo probably can go to the grocery store, but he could play every day.
Yeah, there you go.
Of his life, you know. That's what right. I mean? It's just doing great music, doing whatever the heck you want. Yeah. Okay. So you got a topic.
So I was. This was prompted after I saw the comment section of some particular video, but people arguing about music theory.
Oh, can you argue about music theory? Is it arguable?
I think so.
Really?
So now I don't want to get too heady because I know lots of people.
Yeah, we're gonna blow the Jill test.
No. Well, no. Here's the deal. No, right. I'm going to ask you this simple question.
Oh boy, you're setting me up for failure.
All right, here we go.
Oh Jesus.
So we all know what theory means, right?
Right.
So the idea of music theory, for those people out there who don't understand, there's just guidelines, set of parameters, and things that have been basically studied over time that we can look back and point to and use to help learn music.
Right.
Right? There's someone who argues it's called music theory, not music fact, because it's never been proven.
It's never been proven.
That's right. And I think what people will get who aren't musicians, I think, and I've made this point before myself without seeing this, just so I was looking something up akin to what I was thinking about, and sure enough, but of course the guitar player went and wrote the article. But really what the thing is about that most people leave out about music theory is, yes, there's that academic side, and it's very, very useful, and you should study it, right? But the thing that some people lean on completely neglects the fact that music is subjective, and music theory discounts for the listener in the fact that you can study all the music theory that you want or could possibly fit into your brain, and it does not mean that you will ever have an ounce of output, nor does it mean that anything that you will put out will actually be enjoyed by anybody. And then they back it up by saying there are things that are produced that follow music theory to the T,
right,
and aren't really enjoyed. And then there are things that music theory would never, ever, ever lead you down to think. You would never write something that looks like this based upon music theory. And one of the examples that they cite is Stevie Wonder's Living for the City. I'm sure you know.
Yeah.
There's the bridge section that goes where it jumps time signatures and the melody and the chords completely get all whacked out. So I want to know your thoughts on that. Is music theory a theory, or can we call it a fact? And are we leaving out the listener when it comes down to that?
Well, speaking of leaving out the listeners, you ever listen to John Zorn?
John Zorn.
It's like free jazz saxophone.
Okay.
Knitting Factory stuff, New York, 80s, 90s. It's just... it's unlistenable, I think. I mean, I understand what he's doing, and I appreciate it, but it's just not listenable. But so, wait, hold on. I'm going to roll over to the piano for a second, and I'll take my headphones off. I mean, so theory is saying it's subjective, but I think mathematically you could prove, let's say, resolutions, right? Resolutions in Western music is where you're in a piece of music and then you end it, right? So it'd be hard to argue that this is not the most resolute progression, going from the dominant to the one. Mm-hmm. That is the most resolute.
Sure,
versus,
yeah.
I mean, if I went, this is not resolute, but like, let's say we went from the 6 to the 1. It's not as resolute, right? So I don't know. I think that part is maybe getting missed in the comments that the person was making, or I didn't understand it.
I'm going to forward you the article just so you can read it.
So I like music theory just as a mental concept. I like it.
Me too.
But there are some great, many great musicians that don't know jack all about music theory.
It's not an excuse to not study something.
Right, but But one could argue is it even a necessity? It's there's great musicians that don't know anything about it.
Well, to tie into your newest business venture,
right?
Waterview Art, is that when you completely reduce it down to academia, you have to remember that what this author of this article is focusing on is the listening experience, and that when I turn off my mind and allow my heart and ears to drive the car, then I tend to be living in the artistic side of music, and that's where the magic happens. So I think sometimes people, and maybe college professors could be slightly guilty of this, is that when we reduce everything down to academia, we forget for the moment that music is also an art form.
Well, and that's what pissed me off in jazz school. I'm going to be dead honest with you. Like, now as I'm older, I understand what they were trying to do, but I took a class called improv. And one of the things that we would do in improv is do solos, and we'd actually have to write out solos and then turn it in, which is weird that you would hand in a solo to an improv class. And then they would grade it, and I would frequently get red marks because I was not landing on sevenths or thirds, or I was using weird chromaticism, which to me was interesting. I know where, if it was just land on these dots all the time, everybody would do it and everybody would sound the same. And I'm I didn't find that interesting. So I would come up with my way, but then they would give me a weird score on a homework assignment. I'm but dude, but that's how I like it. You know?
Yeah.
And so, so then you could take an art like jazz where it is supposed to be free form and your ideas are flowing, even though a lot of jazz guys will have an idea of what they're doing.
It's definitely tough because to try to bring it full circle, if you're listening to someone like Taylor Swift, whose chord progression has probably been recycled 1,000 times over in songs that we've all heard, it's this song just goes 6-2-5-1. We've all heard pop songs that do that, but I don't like it. And that's the subjectiveness. And it's well, what don't you like about it? It's well, I don't like the lyrics. And they go, okay, let's brush away the lyrics. And say, fine, I don't like the overprocessed part. Okay, fine, let's get rid of the what they did inside the studio and reduce it down to just this. Okay, great. I don't like the timbres. And now you're starting to get into the timbres. The timbres of what? The overall feel, the whole feel, the whole color.
Right.
Is it warm? Is it cool? All these weirdo words we use to describe music.
Well, it's funny. So my daughter, she brought up "Don't Blame Me," this Taylor Swift tune. So you know me, I always do weird little things with the intros. So I actually just took the chord progression and did it as a guitar little lick underneath Emmy announcing the show last week. Mm-hmm. So now if you listen to the beginning of that show, it is the chords that are "Don't Blame Me," which I use at the end of the show. So I kind of made it go full circle, right? But that song, actually, if you take all the crappy production away, it's really just an A minor blues tune. That's really all it is.
Yeah.
But I think for me, there's no danger in there. It's so bleh. Yeah. It's like a pile of mashed potatoes. It just and she can sing, and then but it just, I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me. Zero. Nothing.
It's fluff.
Well, and my daughters love it. And then I started listening to some of the lyrics. There's an Ava Max tune that says it's called "Choose Your Fighter."
You can be a lover or a fighter, whatever you desire. Life is like a runway and you're
And it's kind of cute because it has whoever did the production has a little bit of a hint to
hopefully video games.
8-bit video game kind of thing. And then, so I listened to the lyrics. I'm like, maybe they like it because the lyrics seemed like it was sung by a young woman, and they're sort of very self-empowering. So then I try to ask them, like, do you identify with these lyrics? Why is it you like it? And I think there's something to be said for girl power or lyrics that appeal to younger kids that are going through developmental stages.
Oh, you can't. So the band that was real big and there's a lot of people out there who probably in public denounced or denied the fact, but Blink-182 is one of the most successful bands in the late 90s into the early 2000s.
All the small things, true care, truth brings. I'll take one lift, you're right, best trip. Always, I know you'll be at my show, watching, waiting, commiserating. Say it ain't so, I will not go. Turn the lights off, carry me home.
I mean, you'll hear interviews where they're like, yeah, I write. The guitar player said that he writes nursery rhymes.
Yeah.
Because these are all nursery rhymes. So that's exactly what it is. But the subject matter, of course, was they were very tongue in cheek and they were very comedic. But the songs that had a deeper meaning were. They have their finger on the pulse of American teenagers, you know? It's just like about breakups and about having fun with your friends in the summer, and then you meet a girl, and then what do you do with your friends because there's this girl, or you met this guy, and what do you do with your friends because there's this guy? It's like all the usual stuff, but it was right on the money.
So why do they not bust those guys nads versus the country guys? They're like, oh, if I hear another song about a pickup truck.
You can set my truck on fire and roll it down a hill, and I still wouldn't trade it for a Coupe de Ville. I got an 8-foot bed that never has to be made. You know, if it weren't for trucks, we wouldn't have tailgates. I met all my wives in traffic jams, and just something women like about a pickup man.
That's a good question. I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Leave the country guys alone. That's what they write about.
I mean, that's what they know, right? They get a little mud on the tires, you know?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You know, we've talked about him before, but there's a wonderful David Allan Coe song where he talks about, this isn't the best country song ever because you didn't sing about your mama, you didn't write about a truck, you didn't write about trains, you didn't write about getting stuck in the rain, and he writes a song with all those lyrics. It's very funny.
So it's been somewhat dormant, but I have my rowdy country band called Wailing Denims, and we used to make guys do David Allan Coe songs, and we actually used to do a song called "Don't Bite the," and it was off of his dirty record that you could only get at the back of like a biker magazine. And the song was about a certain act, I guess, between a man and a woman, yeah, that dude, like he led the life. You know, he went to jail. That record, there's some pretty racist stuff that was on it, and he was accused of being a racist.
Oh, pretty racist song.
Racist against who?
Black people.
Black people? But I'm black.
Although, like, he would say, I'm not a racist. My cellmate was a black guy, and we're like besties. But yeah, that he's a little rough around the edges. Yep. I'm a fan of stuff like that because it's just so unapologetically who you are.
Very true.
You know what I mean? There's something that I admire about people. They're like, I literally just don't give a crap what you think. I'm just going to do me, which is cool. Anyway, David, how do we get on David Allan Coe? Oh, you brought something up about a quote before. You brought up a musical quote when you were in the context of the theory thing. Anyway, so we opened the art gallery, And I'm wearing my shirt, and you can't see it because it's on the back of my shirt. But there's a great quote that we have on the back that I think is just sums up painting or art as a concept. This was accredited to a gentleman named Edward Hopper, who painted something called, the painting he's most famous for is called Nighthawks. And it's kind of like a New York City diner at night. And it's really dark, and you just see through the windows like 4 people sitting inside this diner.
Elvis and Marilyn Monroe, and is that the one?
Yeah, there's like a
and
couple
Frank
on one.
Sinatra.
Yeah, there's a couple. Although I don't know if that's them per se. But anyway, he had a quote. He said, "If I could say it in words, there would be no reason to paint."
Oh.
So going back to our context, like being emotionally stimulated by the tracks or whatever, that bands, like, you know, if you could say we wouldn't need music, we wouldn't need art. And I think that's a great way to sum up creative spirits.
Yeah.
As they can say things.
Yeah, I read a great quote. I don't know where it comes from, so I'll say unknown. Music is what emotions sound like, or music are. Music is what emotions sound like.
Oh, I like that. That's really cool. I like that a lot.
Or feelings. It was feelings. Music are what feelings sound like. That's what they wrote.
Yeah, that's good.
So if we could say the feeling with a word, we wouldn't. But I suppose you could have an instrumental tune that gets strikes you the right way.
Well, here's the thing. So you do like a 3-hour cover gig, right? Mm-hmm. You're playing songs that are, oh my God, they're across the boards, right? Everything from ballads to up tempos. So are you trying to make you like a psychopath, or what's somebody who's constantly changing their personality? Like if you had to change the emotional context of the songs every time you played a different song, schizophrenic. Is that the word I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Let me rephrase the question. I didn't say the question right. Do you try to channel those emotions when you're doing a gig where you didn't write the song, but you know what the emotion of the song is supposed to be?
Yes.
You do.
Well, I think I don't care. It's think of it this way. There's a lot of people who have things to say about the cover band scene, right? I look at it as, number one, well, first of all, it's fun. And I get to make money, and I get to do it by playing music. So
it's better than digging ditches.
Correct. It's better than digging ditches or delivering pizzas. No offense. But I think you'd be doing the song a disservice if you didn't at least try to get yourself in some sort of emotional state or feeling that the song is, or at least just there's a fancy word again, timbre of the tune. So, maybe you didn't go through anything that the songwriter was writing about, but you got to try to get there, whether it's with the dynamics that your band has or something like that. Otherwise, it's going to sound blah.
Yeah. So speaking of like emotions and emotionally unstable people, what do you think of the whole Roger Waters redoing The Dark Side of the Moon?
God only knows it's not what we would choose to do.
Oh, I don't. Roger Waters is, I'll tell you, he is the biggest fan of Roger Waters.
Yeah, okay.
There is no bigger fan of Roger Waters than Roger Waters, and that's off of that is a fact that I have discovered after watching tons and tons of interviews of him.
It's like, have you ever watched Bill Maher? It's like I don't know it. I know for a fact, even though I don't know it's true. What's that bit he has?
Oh, I don't know.
Oh,
he was on HBO, right?
Yeah, he still is.
I've never had HBO.
He's got a great bit.
I don't know for a fact that Lenny Kravitz is going to punch the next guy who says to him, "Funny, you don't look Jewish." I just know it's true.
The only thing I know for sure is I don't know anything for sure.
Right. And in closing for today's show, we have to remember and honor one of the greats, the truly greats of rock and roll. Mr. Robbie Robertson departed this world on August 9th. Woven into the tapestry of music history, the brilliance of Robbie Robertson's legacy is one of style, innovation, and emotion. As a gifted guitarist, he had a masterful understanding of melody and rhythm. He effortlessly crafted intricate tonal stories that resonated deep within the hearts of the listener. As one of the creators of the sound of rock, Robertson's contributions, both as a founding member of the band and as a solo artist, elevated the very essence of storytelling through music. His songs capture the shared common essence of Americanism that spanned generations and which seemed to tell the story of all of us. As we bid farewell to this icon, we remember the notes he played, the stories his lyrics told, and the emotions he conjured. He will be missed. The great Robbie Robertson.
Distant red neon shivered in the heat. I was feeling like a stranger in a strange land. You know, where people play games with the night. God, it was too hot to sleep. I followed the sound of a jukebox coming from up the levee. All of a sudden, I could hear somebody whistling from right behind me. I turned around and she said, "Why do you always end up down at Nick's Cafe?" I said, I don't know. The wind just kind of pushed me this way. She said, "Hang the rich."